on the desk, you can. But if not, you can follow us on the screen. If you'd like to speak, there are blue cards outside for speakers, the speaker cards. You can fill those cards out. Give us your name and address for the record when you come to the podium, and then you have 5 minutes to talk to us about any business germane to the City of Douglasville or any of the agenda items. I ask that you please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to do our business. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. If you deviate from this requirement and you receive a warning, the second deviation will result in us asking you to leave the chambers for the evening. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud, react to the speaker, speak from the audience, cheer, or carry on a conversation when you're at the podium. We ask that you would please address all of your comments and concerns to myself or the city council member who is the chair of that particular committee. If you have a cell phone or electronic device, we'll ask that you would please put those in silent mode until after the meeting so they will not be disruptive. This is how the agenda items will be handled, and we can move on smoothly through the meeting. The committee chairperson will read that agenda item, then that person or applicant will make his or her presentation, then myself and council members will possibly ask clarifying questions. After that, if it's a public hearing, then the committee chairperson will have a maximum of 20 minutes for people to speak in favor of items and 20 minutes for those to speak in opposition for that particular item during the public hearing. Each person has 5 minutes to speak. And again, if you like to speak, you have to fill out a speaker card. It's a blue card out there. Hand it to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, in the beautiful red, and then you can come to the podium and talk to us. Each person has one opportunity to speak. This is really not a question and answer or debate format. We're here to hear the information, deliberate, and make our decisions on next Monday. If you have any printed material, we ask that you would please give that to Ms. Acker, our city clerk. She will make copies and pass those copies out to myself and council members. That's a whole lot of instructions. Hopefully we're all on the same page, and you can follow along. Now on the agenda, so we're past item number 4 and we're at item number 5. Each committee is handled by the chair. So now we'll move on to Economic Development Committee, and that's handled by City Council Member Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight under the Economic Development Committee.
Yes, sir.
And that is to adopt a resolution to adopt the City of Douglasville's Downtown Master Plan. And Ms. Chelsea Jackson, the most illustrious Assistant City Manager, will give us some further information.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good afternoon. Good evening. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. Before you, you have a resolution to adopt the Downtown Master Plan. You also have the final Downtown Master Plan. Just to take you through the process, of course, the kickoff meeting started last March 2024. So we've had several kickoff meetings, as well as a couple of public community workshops, one that was here at the Douglasville Conference Center. We also went out to several of the events that we had. So we went to Wednesday Wine Down. We went to an Easter egg hunt as well, and a couple more events throughout the city or throughout the downtown area, as well as had a public final plan open house that introduced the plan, the overall final plan, to the public and to accept comments. Also, if you all remember, in November or in December, TSW, the consultant that did the Downtown Master Plan, also presented the final plan before you all with the recommendations for the next 10 years. That was in December, and now before you, you have the final plan to adopt. So just so you remember, the last plan that was adopted started in 2016, and you all adopted that in 2017, and probably about 70 to 80% of the plan from 2016, 2017 was completed. So this will be the new plan for the next 10 years.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. There's a lot of information in this,
Yes.
this thing. A lot to go with. I guess what the good thing, I mean, I can say that I'm maybe unfortunately I've been around so long now. I remember when we did master plans and put them on a shelf. And that's not the case here. And to be clear, this is a living document, and I think it's important that people understand what that means. You know, that there's a lot of good suggestions in here, and there's a lot of which will be taken up. Some will have to be adjusted as time goes on, as reality comes in, the property doesn't become available, or somebody develops the property in a way that we don't expect. But there's a lot here that, to take home with us, and that's going to be really good for the downtown area, and that's what's exciting about this particular plan. With that, I will open the floor if anybody has any comments or items they'd like to discuss regarding the master plan. We'll start with you, Madam Mayor, then we'll go to
Oh,
Councilman
thank
Watts.
you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and our Deputy City Manager, Ms. Jackson. Implementation, if you can just give us highlights on that, and the timeframes for everything to start. I know we've had the public meetings and had information, and now we have a living document, so that is part of the timeframe that we started last year. But if you can just give us, like, implementation, how it's going to work, and the timeframe for everything to come out of the ground.
Yes, ma'am. So much like their 2016 plan implementation is immediately started once you all adopt this plan. So there are action items. So those are like short-term items that are about 1 to 2 years. You have your kind of medium-range items that'll take about 3 to 5 years, and then you have the long-range items, which may include like securing certain type of land or doing some type of development within that downtown area that'll take about the next 8 to 10 years. The one thing that myself, City Manager Marshall Hampton, and Assistant City Manager Karen Callen spoke about is taking a few of the plans that have had updates and have staff come back to you all with about 2 or 3 projects that we'll start doing within the next 1 to 3 years. So within the next month or 2, you'll see me again, and I'll be talking about 2 to 3 action plans or projects that we'll be pulling from this downtown master plan to commence and to start on within the next year.
Okay, that sounds good, because I know the one that in particular that jumped out at me was Worthen Park improvements. And we can do those things, but it really is owned by Norfolk Southern, so we can have a time frame of 3 to 5 years. But if the railroad says,
Yes,
we really have to yield to them, so.
Yes,
it
and
may
that's
take
one of the
longer.
things that Mayor Pro Tem, when he talked about, some of the things that we may not necessarily be able to get to. Of course, when we spoke with our consultant, we did let them know Worthen Park in that
Yeah.
situation. They did give us a couple of tools that we could probably do to update that park, and I will be
Okay.
working with Director Bass on those. But if not, we do have a lot of other things and action items and goals throughout the next 10 years that we can complete.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro
Thank you,
Tem.
Madam Mayor. Yeah, when you're dealing with a railroad, you have to think in terms of medieval church construction, how long those projects took. Councilman Watts.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Did you say about 80% of the master plan from 16 and 17, about 80% of it
Yes, sir.
was accomplished? Does any of that didn't get accomplished it carried over onto this?
Yes, some of the items that may take longer than the 10
Right.
years or 8 years, pretty much, they did carry over. The consultant looked at those. They also received feedback from you all as well as from residents. And if that was one thing that they wanted to continue to see, for example, like a hotel in the downtown area, that's one thing that will continue over that you'll see throughout the plan that residents believe that will be a good item to have in the downtown area. So there are certain things that were carried over, yes, sir.
Good. Well, thank you. And just a reminder to anybody that's watching that you can access this online. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Councilman Watts. Any other comments? Councilwoman Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just wanted to express my gratitude to you guys and tell you guys how exciting this is, because I know oftentimes we're going through reports and it's things that I need sometimes a little clarification to understand, but although this is such a labor of love, and when you go through it, I know there's been a lot of different like steering committees that have involved so many of the residents coming out, you know, the green dots, the red dots, where do you want to see this, what do you not want to see? And in the end, we have such an amazing plan that we can work off of and build on for the next decade. Is very exciting. So thank you very much for bringing this to us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any comments from this end? Okay, I guess one other thing to think about, you know, as we move forward on this is that, you know, think about the things we have done that were part of previous master plans, like the Town Green, best example. You know, O'Neill Plaza, the facelifts that we've done on Church Street and Veterans Memorial, all of that was part of the previous master plans. So
Yes,
this is
sir.
exciting when we talk about things like future hotels and future mixed-use development and retail. There's a lot of exciting things going to be happening in downtown over the next couple of years. So, all right, if there's no other items, I guess what I would like to do with council's acceptance is to put that item on the consent agenda for Monday.
Looks like it's good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all we have under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Deputy City Manager Jackson. We'll move on then to item number 6, which is Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have several
welcome.
items tonight. We'll
Yes, sir.
start with the first one. Item A, authorize the mayor to sign the first amendment to the professional services agreement with Safe Built Georgia LLC for fire site inspections, permit technician services, and plan review. And Mr. Thompson will have this one.
Marcus Thompson, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
All right, so there's 3 main parts to this amendment. First is centered around fire code, plan review, and inspection services. So as you are aware, these services are currently being conducted by Douglas County Fire Department. They not only handle just city development, but they handle the entire county. So we feel as though transitioning these services to a consultant will help streamline that process and mitigate the challenges that we face with any potential delays. Secondly, currently, we have Safe Built now helping us out with inspection services. However, we have another consultant that currently helps us out with plan review services. So we feel as though it'll be best just to consolidate those services under one consultant, just to make sure communication is there and make sure we don't run into any potential hiccups that we face with field adjustments or any things of that nature. And then lastly, so as of tomorrow, we will be down permit technicians. So these additional resources will help us maintain the timely processing of permits and keep that customer service satisfactory. So yeah, are there any questions or concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Any questions? Yes, so, Mr.
I don't
Estes?
have a question about the item itself, but is anybody else able to pull up this item?
No.
No, I'm just
It
saying it
was-
keeps
Okay.
kicking me out.
Sam,
That's all.
Okay, so it's not
it's-
just me.
It's everybody. But all the other agenda items will open. That's the only one that does it. Well, but we'll leave it off the consent agenda so that we could have it loaded by Monday.
All right, that's one thing I was going to say.
Thank you. I was wondering if it was doing it to anybody else. I just, I got tired of logging back in, so I
know,
quit
that's what I kept
touching
doing
it.
too.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Madam Mayor.
I did. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our city engineer, Mr. Thompson. Now, Mr. Thompson, so we would contract these services with Safe Build, and I remember, you know, I'm old school, I'm an OG. So years ago, Mr. Cecil Rainey, I think his name was our city inspector. Would we ever go back to having an on-staff person? I know as the city engineer, you have a sundry of things and under your umbrella. Would this be something we're contracting now? Would it be more feasible for us to bring someone in-house, or are we just continue to contract?
We would love to have someone in-house. The issue is, the last time we had a fire inspector was Mr. Cecil Rainey, and that was 20-plus years ago.
Yeah.
So
I said I was
unfortunately,
OG,
that is
so-
a aging field. So Mr. Thompson can tell you, we've probably been looking for a building inspector since Mr. Metler retired, and we have yet to find one.
Wow.
So the current resources to do that are contracted support services. It used to be when the building industry had trades and technicians that were plentiful, you would always have carryover from that industry that would go into local government. But ever since the recession, those fields have essentially dried up. So we're not the only local government who faces this challenge. I would say we're probably one of the last few local governments that don't have their entire permitting department outsourced. I don't know many that don't.
wow.
So when you go to local governments, Powder Springs, neighboring communities, it's all 100% outsourced.
Oh, wow. Okay. That answers that question. Well, thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I probably already know the answer to this question, or two questions. I get two-part question, but I'll ask anyway. We're contracted through the county for the fire marshal. Is that part of our service agreement with them?
No, it's not. They provide fire services for us for fire, but that contract does not specify anything related to fire inspections and permitting. So we had our legal counsel, Lynn Woodward, this is when Ms. Jordan was on leave, verify that nothing in that agreement precludes us from bringing that service back in-house.
Okay.
I've already communicated with the fire chief and the county administrator that our plan is to bring those services back in-house. We all use the same code, so it should not be a matter of reviewing a different code.
So from a financial perspective, where are we paying the county fire marshal to do fire inspections for buildings within the city? How does that work?
We're not.
So we're getting away with it.
I probably wouldn't have said that on camera, but we're not paying for that service.
Well, it doesn't matter, we're not going to use them anyways anymore. Okay, that's good to know, because I was going to say that, I know that the horse was already out of the gate as far as renegotiating the service contract, if it was included in, that's why I wanted to clarify that.
No, everything in your permitting department should essentially be a pass-through type service. So the individual that is applying for the permit should be paying for the services that it takes to cover the cost of the employee. So even from a standpoint of the county, with the county during our inspections, we would not be collecting any funds. The onus would be on the applicant to pay Douglas County. So there would not be any exchange of funds between us and Douglas County for that service.
And so this, moving forward, this will be financially a net zero budget item for us. It will presumably recover the cost of that from the applicants themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's an important thing to know.
Correct.
And I'm
Yes.
not sure if you said that earlier, because I was distracted by my computer crashing every 10 seconds.
Yeah. That's the way inspections departments are supposed to work. They're supposed to, in some sense, pay for themselves, the permit fees. So when we're in budget and the building inspector, community development, and finance is presenting their budget, and when they talk about revenues, it should be an offset.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Marcus, appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Thompson, and we'll just leave this one on the agenda for Monday, and hopefully be able to take a look at those slides. Item B, authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Douglas County Board of Commissioners and the Douglas County Tax Commissioner for a collection of ad valorem tax, and Ms. Callen will handle this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Karen Callen, Chief Financial Officer and Assistant City Manager. Our prior contract expired. This is a renewal. It did not go up from the previous year. It's locked in for 20 years with no escalation. It's about $41,000 annually, which is much less expensive for us to do this in-house.
Thank you, Ms. Callen. Any questions or comments about this one? So, didn't go up, and it's locked in for 20 years.
Yes, sir.
All right, that sounds good. Anybody else? Any questions, comments? I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday, if that would be okay with council. All right, thank you, Ms. Callen. Item C, authorize the mayor to sign the terms and conditions agreement with Pond and Company for design and engineering services for the Northside Trail Network in the amount of $628,457, and Mr. Bass will handle this.
Good evening, Madam Mayor
Good evening.
and members of council. Chris Bass, 8830 Gurley Road. We are seeking approval to enter into an agreement with Pond and Company for the Northside Trail Network. If you remember earlier this week during the retreat, I made a presentation about this particular project with details in terms of that Georgia Power easement and the connection to those specific roads and streets on the north side. So that is in direct relation to this particular project. The scope for this agreement would consist of reviewing the existing conditions, preliminary design development, construction documents and permitting, bidding assistance, and construction observation along with Geotech. And that that agreement will be for a total of $628,457. I'm happy to answer any questions specifically to this proposal, or if you have other questions from the presentation I made earlier this week. And,
Anybody have any questions? This is something I've been looking forward to. We're getting close. Getting close. Nobody? No questions, comments? All right, good. Thank you, Mr. Bass. I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday. All right. Item D, authorize the mayor to sign the commercial solid waste collection, transportation, and disposal agreement with Waste Industries Atlanta LLC, DBA GFL Environmental for commercial sanitation services, and our brand-new director, Melissa Burdette, will handle this. Go ahead, Melissa.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Melissa Burdette, 8485 Courthouse Square West, Public Services Department. I am recommending GFL for the commercial solid waste services. They presented a comprehensive proposal with competitive pricing, demonstrated ample staffing and well-maintained fleet, and the capacity to serve the city of Douglasville. Their commitment to customer satisfaction and responsiveness was evident, and they were the lowest bidder out of all the bids.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Burdette. So they were the low bidder, and the contract, they've been doing this for us
Correct.
previously, so it's almost a renewal, but before, it's different now, we're paying less. Go ahead and explain that so everybody.
Yes, so currently we were doing a month-to-month contract,
Right.
but now that we're doing a yearly contract, they were able to lower the cost. So we are getting a better rate for commercial service.
That's a good thing. Thank you. Any comments or questions from council for Ms. Burdette? Anybody? All right, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday. All right. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Burdette.
you.
Appreciate it. And our last item, item E, authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Blunt Construction Company, Inc. for street resurfacing, RFP 2024-014, supplemental LMIG 2024 in the amount of $2,181,899.23. They couldn't round that up or down. They just had to stick that in there, I guess. Mr. Todd Dresto, go ahead. Take it away.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. Todd Dresdo, Public Services Department, 8145 Cedar Mountain Road. Always happy to be in front of you talking about road resurfacing, so here I am again. This is a proposed agreement with Blunt Construction for the 2024 supplemental LMIG contract. To refresh your memory, GDOT released 2 LMI grants in the 2024. The first was already awarded previously to Baldwin, and that construction is wrapping up currently. This is for the second contract. It's about 20 streets, 5.5 miles. We received 11 qualified bids on this project. Blunt was the lowest, but also received the highest ratings from our review committee. We feel very comfortable that they are qualified and able to handle this work and do a satisfactory job for the city.
Okay, any questions or comments? And they're new to this is their first project with the city, correct?
That is correct, sir. They were actually the runner-up on the previous 2024 LMIG contract. They interviewed really well, and it was a close call on that one. So we're happy to have them on this one.
That's great. All right, thank you. Any questions or comments?
It's a surprising number of bidders, 11.
Yeah,
That's a lot of bidders.
We must be doing something right. I think part of that is that we're investing significant amounts into these contracts, and we're attracting
Yeah.
business.
and did you tell me earlier that this is coming out of LMIG, but also we're still spending 2016 SPOS money on this one, or?
I would have to defer to finance on exactly which pool this is coming from as far as SPLOST. But I can tell you that the LMIG grant is $480,000 of this.
Okay.
So it's split between the SPLOST funds.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Thank you. So everybody's SPLOST is being put to good use. Thank you. Mr. Dresto, appreciate it. If there are no questions or comments, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday also. Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we are done with
All right now.
finance.
Okay, thank you so much, Coach, and thank you to staff for the presentations. We appreciate that. So we'll move on then to the next committee, which is Housing and Community Affairs Committee. Is that right? Yep, and that is chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Housing and Community Affairs Committee has no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on then to Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have several items tonight under the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee.
Yes, sir.
First is to appoint the profound Mr. Mark Adams to the Douglas County Water and Sewer Authority to a 5-year term expiring April 2nd, 2030. Ms. Chelsea Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, everyone. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. As you all know, for the Douglas County Water Sewer Authority Board of Directors, they are appointed on a rotating basis. The next appointment is the city's appointment for a 5-year term ending April 2nd, 2030. Of course, the current individual who's serving in that term cannot serve a second term. On that board, you can only serve one term. And so I spoke with Mayor Robinson, and she is recommending Mr. Mark Adams to serve in that term until 2030.
I think there are few people you can find probably better qualified to serve their community than Mr. Adams. Does anybody have any comments or thoughts on this nomination?
I'll just say, I saw Mr. Adams on Friday, and first of all, he accused me of putting his name up. I corrected him on that, but he's very excited about the possibility, and he'd be wonderful.
It wasn't entirely voluntold.
No, he was not. He's great with it.
Madam Mayor, you...
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Deputy Director. Yes, so Mr. Adams, a question did come about his eligibility, and he is eligible after you're not on the council for a year. You can receive appointments from mayor and council. And so it's been over a year that Ms. Hudson ran for his seat, as he opted not to run again for elected office, so he is eligible to run. And he has extensive background, of course, serving on city council and being in the building community, so he would be a perfect fit, knowing where all the pipes and all of that is in the city of Douglasville, but representing the Water and Sewer Authority for the city of Douglasville. So thank you all for your consideration for Mr. Adams. I hadn't heard any objections when I asked individual council members about him serving, so thank you so much.
I thought you were going to say you knew where all the bodies were. But...
Oh, no, not the bodies, the pipes for water.
Any other comments? If not, if it's the council's will, I would place this on the consent agenda for Monday. Okay, the next item is to adopt a resolution to encourage the Georgia congressional delegation to preserve and protect the tax-exempt status of municipal bonds. And this will be tag-teamed by our city manager, Marcia Hampton, and our attorney, Miranda Jordan.
Actually, I'm going to transfer this to Ms. Jordan.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton. Miranda Jordan, staff attorney. I recently sat in on a National League of Cities call about municipal bonds, and one of the topics of discussion was that the current administration is looking at and encouraging the removal of tax-exempt status from municipal bonds. And this resolution will offer support and will be shared with our congressional delegation from the state of Georgia to encourage them to fight to protect the tax-exempt status of municipal bonds. Without that tax-exempt status, the cities are going to be it's going to be almost impossible for them to borrow money at a rate that is responsible to local taxpayers. So this resolution will encourage our congressional delegation to continue to fight for that to stay in place.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Yes, to be clear, so people understand, you know, a bond is basically a loan that a city or an entity puts out there that people invest in, and the rate of return is based on the market conditions. And generally speaking, municipal bonds have lower rates of return, but what makes them competitive in the commercial market is the fact that they are tax exempt at the federal level. And so if that tax exemption is removed, it's going to be, to your point, the municipal bonds will become far less competitive. If you're, you know, only offering 4% and everybody else is offering 6% and you can't get a tax break on that, why would you get a 4% bond? You know? So that's what we're up against, and I think this is a very well-motivated resolution to encourage our Washington leaders to think twice about this. Any additional comments?
And I did want to add also that we consulted with Georgia Municipal Association regarding their support of this resolution as well, and they do support that.
Good. That's good to know. Madam Mayor, did you have something?
No, it's the bubble. You reading my bubble, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, well, if there are no other comments, and if it is council's will, I'd like to place this item on the consent agenda for Monday as well. So done. Madam Mayor, that's all we have under the Legislative Intergovernmental Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you to our staff, our Deputy City Manager, and our attorney, Ms. Miranda Jordan. We'll move on then to Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
one
welcome.
item this evening.
Yes, sir.
Item 25-070, adopt a resolution to amend the City of Douglasville's GMEBS Defined Benefit Retirement Plan to provide for a 3% variable annual cost of living adjustment for certain employees who terminate after January 1st, 2025. And we will have our HR Director, Dr. Brian Westfield, explain this to us.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dr. Brian Westfield, 6695 Church Street. This resolution corrects a previously approved change to the city's defined benefit retirement plan. It was initially requested in July and approved in August of 2024, but it was not included on the last plan document we got from GMA. Once we reviewed the document, we noticed that it was missing. To provide a quick recap of what it was in July and August that was approved, existing COLA, the current COLA up to 5% remains unchanged for employees hired or in office before October 2nd, 2006. The new COLA policy eligibility are for regular employees hired after October 2nd, 2006. Individuals not eligible for the 3% COLA, employees who left before 1 January 2025, and elected officials who took office after October 2nd, 2006. The effective date of the COLA will apply to payments starting in January 1st, 2026. Subject to your questions, that's all I have.
So, Dr. Westfield, this basically is just correcting an intent that was missing in the original approval
That's correct, sir.
from last summer. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Madam Mayor?
No,
Anyone
sir.
else? Nobody? Well, you did a good job, Brian. Nobody has any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Westfield. I would like to request that this be placed on the consent agenda as well.
Looks good.
All right. Then that is all we have for personnel and organization tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Estes and Dr. Westfield. Now we'll move on to Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We do have just a few items this evening. The first is to reappoint Ms. Patricia Smith to the Historic Preservation Commission for a 3-year term expiring January 31st, 2028, and Ms. Chelsea Jackson's going to go over this one with us.
Good evening again, Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. As Councilwoman Miller stated, Ms. Patricia Smith would like to be reappointed to the Historic Preservation Commission for a 3-year term expiring January 31st, 2028. She has served on the commission for probably about 5 to 6 years now, probably a little bit longer, but she is one who wants to be reappointed. Every time they have a meeting, she's very inquisitive. She enjoys being on the Historic Preservation Commission, and staff recommends her reappointment.
That's wonderful, thank you. Just out of curiosity, is there a cap for people serving for terms on the boards?
Depends on what board. For the Historic Preservation Commission, there is no term limit. On some other boards, much like Keep Douglasville Beautiful and a couple more, there are term limits.
Okay, thank you. I know sometimes it gets hard to keep all those straight. Council, any questions regarding this? Nope. Okay, well then, if it's okay with you guys, I would like to place Ms. Patricia Smith's reappointment on the consent agenda. And then the next one is to reappoint Ms. Cochelle Dingle to the City of Douglasville's Historic Preservation Commission for a 3-year term expiring January 31st, 2028.
Yes, much like Ms. Smith, Ms. Denegal would like to be reappointed to the Historic Preservation Commission. This would be her first full term. She served for a year in unexpired term, so this is her first term that she would be elected to or appointed to. Staff does recommend her reappointment as well.
Perfect. I love hearing when people want to love on the community. Thank you. Council, any questions and any objections to placing this on the consent agenda? Nope.
Didn't look like it.
Okay, well, Madam Mayor, that is all that we have this evening for planning and development.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Miller, and to our Deputy City Manager. And we really appreciate citizens giving of their time on boards and commissions. It's such a blessing to have engagement in the community. They help us to be able to serve the entire community. And we'll move on to Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's also chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Madam Mayor, we have no business this evening for public improvement and beautification.
Thank you, ma'am. Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business at this time, thank you.
You're welcome. We'll move on to Public Safety and ask Councilmember, the Vice Chair. Oh. Is that me? Yes, sir, it is. Councilman Watts.
All right, we have one item tonight in Public Safety.
Yes, sir.
Item A, consider an application for Open Container Day permit on Saturday, March 29th, 2025, from 12 noon to 4 p.m. at Douglasville Town Green for the inaugural Douglasville Beer and Wine Festival, submitted by Emily Leitner, Cultural Arts Council of Douglasville, Douglas County. And Ms. Leitner, come forward and take her away.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members.
afternoon.
Emily Leitner, 8652 Campbellton Street. So we are excited to host our inaugural Beer and Wine Festival. This is in lieu of our normal Cheers to the Arts series that we do, Wine in the Woods and Beer and Buddies. So we'll be combining those two for one large festival. So today we are asking the request of the enactment of the entertainment district during the festival. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. And we discussed this item
A couple weeks ago.
a week or so
Couple weeks
ago.
ago, yes, sir.
And this is for the open container portion. So people will be able to walk around inside the amphitheater area and outside as long
That's
as.
correct, and hopefully shop our downtown restaurants as well.
And everybody has a wristband that participates.
That is correct.
And the other businesses that sell downtown,
They get wristbands as well with
Okay.
a specific cup.
they're all participating. Any questions or comments by council?
I've got a
Go
question.
ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Watts. Thank you so much. I know, like many people, I'm super excited about this, but forgive me if you've already told me this. But as far as the vendors go, will there be other vendors like food vendors, food trucks, and stuff like that to go along with this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're going to have food trucks, food vendors, we'll have art vendors, we'll have some great beer, wine, and a meadery coming as well. So it'll be a lot of fun for all of our friends that are 21 and up.
That sounds super exciting. Okay, and then are you guys sold out now on your vendor applications?
We are full, but we do have a waiting list.
Okay, and what about ticket sales? How are those going?
So we just opened ticket sales, and we sold like 25 in the first day, so we are rocking and rolling.
Okay, very good. That's super exciting. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Councilwoman Miller. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Ms. Leitner, for all your efforts on putting this together. I'd like to ask if this could be is this allowed to be placed on the consent agenda? Councilwoman Dr. Burdanley not being here, this is her committee. If she reaches out and would like this placed back in, she can do that, if there was something she needed to say. Other than that, that's all we have tonight under public safety.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chairman. I appreciate you taking that committee, and thank you to Ms. Leitner with the Cultural Arts Council, always bringing new opportunities for our community to stay involved. So we'll move on then to the next committee, which is Technology Committee. I'll ask the Vice Chair, I skipped, Recreation, Culture, and Tourism. That's chaired by Councilmember Watts as well. I apologize, Coach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You hurt Chris Bass's feelings, but that's okay. He'll get over it.
He's going to have a sad.
We have two items tonight in Recreation, Culture, and Tourism. Item A is to adopt a resolution approving the City of Douglasville Parks and Recreation 10-year master plan.
That's an important one, too.
Yeah, we're master planning it out tonight. Mr. Bass, go ahead.
All right, Chris Bass, 8830 Gurley Road, Parks and Recreation Director. I'll share Ms. Jackson did a great job presenting the first item. This is very similar. A lot of the community engagement components that took place with the downtown master plan was very similar with the Parks and Recreation master plan. If you remember, that plan was originally adopted in 2018, and we worked really hard, our team, to accomplish about 90% of the recommendations from that particular plan. Similar to what was presented earlier, there are a few particular recommendations from that initial plan that will cross over to the new master plan. But this plan will ultimately guide us for the next 10 years. I can tell you three of the major recommendations from that initial plan was the renovations of Willing Workers Park, Mill Village Park, and finally Jesse Davis Park. So as we're near completion with that plan, we went through the community engagement. If you all remember, Ms. Katie Trolling came and gave you a very detailed presentation on the plan and some of the recommendations. So, but the final document is attached, and we are looking for your approval for the 10-year master plan so we can get to work and start planning for the next 10 years of Parks and Recreation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Bass. I love the way our parks have come together under your leadership and folks that work in Parks and Rec. Also, Fowler Field is next. It won't get as big a facelift, but it'll have some things done.
Yes, sir.
That'll be part of this master plan, correct?
Yes, sir. And that's in one of the 1 to 2 year recommendations in terms of go ahead and getting Fowler Field done, which we've already started our due diligence with that particular project. So we'll be getting ready to start.
I think the thing that's impressed me, one of the things that's impressed me the most is how y'all's programming has just gone through the roof. So anyway, any questions or comments about this from anyone? I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday. Mr. Bass, thank you. Item B, authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support for the location of the Cultural Arts Council Center in downtown Douglasville, and Ms. Leitner is coming back. Take it away.
Good afternoon, Emily Leitner, 8652 Campbellton Street. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you today. I brought each of you the newest impact numbers in regards for arts and culture for the state and the nation that you might find useful or interesting. I was up at the Capitol the other day advocating for arts and specifically the film incentive and our new Arts and Culture Campus. So as many of you know, from participating in our co-creation sessions or sitting on our committees or planning, we're making great strides with the Cultural Arts Council's new Arts and Culture Campus that will be here in downtown Douglasville, located right on Church Street, where Hartley Rowan Fowler's building will be. Now, let me put it out there publicly, Hartley Rowan Fowler is not going out of business. They are excited to continue to serve our community, but they realize the importance of arts have in our community and are working with us for that space. So today, we are excited to take another step forward with this campaign as we launch our new capital campaign, Brushstrokes and Blueprints, Building a Legacy. So our current house has served us well over the years, but unfortunately, it lacks the space for growing needs of our community. So if you were present at our Black History Month exhibit, many of you were, we weren't even able to host everyone in the same room for announcements. So this is going to be one of the growing needs that we have, and also looking to fill gaps within our community. So the new Arts and Culture Campus will be there, the solution for this, serving as a cornerstone for cultural and economic development in Douglasville. This 94,000 square foot facility will include a theater for our community finally, a black box space for musicians, independent filmmakers, and small performances, a Culinary Arts Institute in partnership with West Georgia Technical College, a food hall, exhibit space, artist incubator spaces, and more. So these are all spaces that have been identified as gaps within our community, talking with local citizens, corporations, businesses, Lionsgate Studios, and all this came about through those co-creation sessions. So this campus will not only enhance the quality of life here in Douglasville, but it will also drive economic growth. And across Georgia, nonprofit arts organizations generate $1.3 billion in economic impact and support nearly 20,000 jobs and attract visitors. So in fact, arts patrons are the top spenders when visiting another community. On average, an additional $40 is spent outside of their ticket sales through going to food restaurants. So think about if we're going to go to Atlanta to visit the Fox. We're not just going to go to the Fox and come home. We're going to go out to dinner. We're going to do all these different things, maybe visit different restaurants or get a hotel for the evening. All that's driving economic development for Atlanta, and we can do the same here for Douglasville. So it will increase workforce development, foster entrepreneurship skills, and reduce the burden on our local taxpayers by doing this. So today, as I mentioned, we've been talking with the state of Georgia about supporting this project here in Douglasville. I kindly ask for a signed letter of support from the city of Douglasville as we move forward with our capital campaign. Your support is crucial in bringing this vision to life, and I look forward to working with you as we bring this to fruition. So any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Leitner. The Cultural Arts Center downtown Carrollton.
Yes.
I've attended many a play over there with my Sunday school class, and every time we go over there, we eat somewhere downtown. And so I'm really looking forward to this, and thank you for all of that in your presentation. Yes, well, Mr. Estes, go ahead.
Emily, it's been an honor to play some role in the development of this project. It is not only beautiful and exciting, but I mean the driver that it will be for redevelopment of downtown is beyond measure. I mean, I think it's the synchronicity of discussing the new downtown master plan and this on the same night is
Yeah.
perfect. So thank you for everything you do.
My pleasure.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emily, if I wore a hat, I'd take it off to you right now. But I don't. We're beyond that style. No, you've done an amazing job in getting us to this point. This is going to be a truly, there's not much more I can add to Councilman Estes' comments, just that this is going to be a true economic generator and cultural generator for this community and for this region. And it's exciting also so much because the template that you have, the plan that has been developed to this point is so strong. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be an amazing resource and an amazing draw for this community, having each of those elements in there. And I'm so excited, looking forward to seeing our plays performed on a real stage for the community theater. Mm-hmm. That's the most exciting part for me. But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair.
Mayor Pro Tem and Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Leitner. It's such a delight to see you again, and especially for this item. Of course, I've already have a letter that will be presented to you in support of the cultural arts. and the initiatives for arts and entertainment in our downtown. And we always say that the downtown is the heart of your community. It reverberates throughout the entire community in the city. So we appreciate everything that you've done. And I wanted to thank Councilman Estes for representing the city council, serving on this committee. And we appreciate your time and extra effort that you put into helping all this come to fruition. And it's really near and dear to my heart. I served on CAC Board of Directors for 2 terms and was secretary one time and vice chair. And so just excited to see where we are. I didn't think we would get here with this speed, but it's because of you.
It's
So
moving
thank you
fast.
so much. I know,
Thank
it's
you.
fast comparatively speaking. So thank you so much. We're excited about it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a lot going on in downtown Douglasville. Any other questions or comments? Well, I don't think we'll have a problem with putting this on the consent agenda.
We might need one to debate this a little bit.
You might
more.
want
we're
to
not
debate it a
gonna
little bit.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Leitner. Madam Mayor, that's all I had tonight under Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate that, exciting reports. So thank you to you and to Mr. Bass, Director Bass, our Parks and Recreations Director, and Ms. Leitner, CAC Director, Cultural Arts. We'll move on to Technology Committee. I'll ask the Vice Chair, Councilmember Estes, to please take this committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have, oh, wait. Are we on transportation?
Yes.
Okay. Lost track there.
Technology.
We have one item tonight. Item 25-065, authorize the mayor to sign supplemental agreement number 3 with the Georgia Department of Transportation for Project ID 0017811 to provide additional funds necessary to complete the pre-construction engineering and design phase of the State Road 92 Dallas Highway Improvement LCI project. And we will hear about this from Mr. James Gordon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. James
evening.
Gordon, 6695 Church Street. This supplemental agreement is pretty much more of a continuation to allow us to go into our 2025 work program under this project with the ARC. The 2025, we will need an additional $254,000 to keep working throughout this project to do the design work. And I'll take any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
So what's it coming out of the 2025?
It's coming out of block grants through
Okay.
ARC.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Anyone else? Okay. With no other questions or comments, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda as well, please.
I think it's okay.
And then, Madam Mayor, that's all we have tonight for the Transportation Committee.
Thank you so much. Councilman Estes, would you mind doing Technology Committee as well?
I'd be happy to. We have no business for the Technology Committee this evening. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Do we have any other business to come before council tonight from the elected officials? I don't see any. So we'll move on to item number 18, updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson. No business, Madam. Thank you, Mr. Dotson. Staff attorney, Ms. Miranda Jordan.
No business, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Our police department deputy chief,
No
J.R.
business.
Davison.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, deputy chief. Our city manager, Ms. Marcia Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. We're only going to have one executive session tonight, and that was going to discuss a property acquisition. I know previously we said there were 2.
Yes, ma'am.
We're only going to have that. And then on Monday, you have no committee meetings, but we are going to be requesting some meetings with you all starting at 4:30 on Monday. So be prepared for a call from Kristen. So that's Monday from 4:30 before 6. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, city manager. So we will take that into consideration, not to have item B for the executive session and to be on standby for a phone call from Ms. Tate for meetings starting Monday at 4:30 in lieu of the committee meetings. So now we have moved down to item number 19, comments from citizens and delegates. If you sustain the meeting and you'd like to speak to myself and council members, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to talk to us about any business germane to the city of Douglasville. Good evening.
Good evening. Cindy Welch, 3002 Concord Way.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have 3 very small items.
Oh.
One is Freedom Island now has a flag, but there is no light on it. So that's,
There's
I
a
mean, I don't
flag
know.
and no light?
right, the flag is there, a brand-new flag. It's beautiful. You see it in the daytime, but there is not a single light that shines on it at night.
Okay.
So that's my
Was there
first
ever a
thing.
light, Ms. Welch?
Yes, there was, on the
Okay.
old flag, there was a light.
Okay.
So I don't know, someone went off the road at one point and hit part of Freedom Island. I don't know if they hit that electric area, I don't know.
Okay.
But
We'll look into it. Look, city manager says yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
the other thing I have is, I had asked that Campbellton Street have their center line marked, and they marked it from Presley Mill down to where you turn to go into the Presbyterian Church. And then they didn't mark it, so from the Presbyterian Church to I-20, you can't see the center line of that road. And I have one other thing. I want to thank you all for the speed humps that have been now put in on Durley Lane. I know they were removed when you resurfaced and everything. I went by there yesterday and almost didn't make it.
Uh-oh.
Because there they were, and it's like, oh my gosh, they put them back. Because there's a lot of kids that walk across the street, so thank you very much for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ms. Welch. We appreciate your comments. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? Thank you. I don't see any other, so if not, then we will, I'll open the floor, make a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss property disposition. Thank you. It's been properly moved in second to adjourn into executive session after a brief recess to discuss property disposition. Do we have any questions or comments about that? All in favor of approving this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
So we're adjourning to executive session to discuss property disposition. Everyone that wants to go into executive session after a brief recess, please say aye. No? Oh. The ones who don't want to go in say nay. I guess by the quietness, that means Oh, so we have two, so aye. And so we have ayes, any nays, and 2 recuses. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, the ayes have it. So we are in executive session after a brief recess to discuss property disposition.